So happy Sabbath, brother and sister.
Happy Sabbath.
Again, my name is, there's no stranger in here, Brother Andre. And with me is Brother Rashad,
Happy Sabbath.
my esteemed colleague in Christ. So today's lesson is called Spiritual Wickedness in High Places, False Prophet, Part 2. Now, these Part 1 and Part 2 are both independent lessons. They can stand alone. But after doing the first lesson, I realized that I got to show you how these fallen angels influence doctrine. And that's what we are battling today. We are battling those bad doctrine that is out there. Because these fallen angels, we show you in the first lesson, how they cause the fall of man. They even try to challenge Jesus by quoting Psalms 91 to him. But what Jesus showed us, not only that you got to know the scriptures, but you got to understand the scriptures, because they're going to come at you any which way possible. And you got to be ready to deal with them as they come at you. So we will look at how the fallen angels influence some of these ministers and churches, which cause them to replace sound doctrine with fables. So we're going to look at how they influence their mind and give you this doctrine called devil philosophy. So we're going to start out the lesson again with Ephesians chapter 6, and we're going to pick it up at verse 12. Ephesians chapter 6, and we're going to pick it up at verse 12. Okay, still your paper turning. All right. Go ahead, my brother.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
Right, we wrestle not with flesh and blood. We can't really see who we're wrestling with, but who we're wrestling with. Go ahead.
But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Right, so we are wrestling with these fallen angels that the Lord kicked out of heaven, out of the third heaven. So now that they are here on earth, they are going to present themselves like angels of light. They're going to present themselves as ministers to influence the doctrine that's coming out of some of these churches. So let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Paul pointed out that we got to watch out for these ministers. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're going to pick this up at verse 3. So look what Paul is saying. Go ahead.
But I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ.
Right. He take you right back to the Garden of Eden to show you where it all started from. And you got to be mindful of Satan's tricks. Go ahead, verse 4.
For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another spirit, which ye have not received, or another gospel, which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him.
Right. So if they come preaching another Jesus, like the Jesus of tomorrow, the Jesus of Christmas, the Jesus of Easter, then you know they're not talking about the God of Israel that we truly serve. They're talking about another Jesus. And these are fallen angels who appear as minister of light to trick the people. Their doctrine is foul. Go ahead, drop down to verse 13.
For as such are false apostles,
They are false apostles,
deceitful workers,
deceitful workers. Go ahead.
transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ.
Transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. So what they're doing, they are wolf in sheep clothing, trying to trick you, trying to fool you, trying to pull you away from your salvation. They are so clever that they'll pray over you, touch you, make you kick and gyrate and jump over a couple chairs and scream out for Jesus. But in fact, there is nobody getting any healing, because if they were being healed, then they would know that they are worshiping on the wrong day. And Jesus is going to let us know how to point them out by virtue of the doctrine that he left for us. So now let's go to 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter. 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter. Second Peter, the 2nd chapter. And we're going to pick this up at verse 1. Go ahead.
But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, whom privately shall bring in damnable heresies.
Right, so what is damnable heresies? Jesus was born on the 25th day of December. Christ died on Good Friday and raised on Easter Sunday morning. Your mother is in heaven. Sunday is the Sabbath day. Those are damnable heresy. Go ahead.
Even denying the Lord that bought them.
Even denying the Lord that brought them. Go ahead.
And bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways,
yes.
by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of.
That's right. So they don't hold the truth in righteousness. They hold the truth in unrighteousness. Go ahead.
And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you.
Right, through flattery words, they're going to make merchandise of you. How do they make merchandise of you? Through your faithful paying of your tithes. They'll buy a G5. They'll buy summer home. Do you know how much it is to operate a G5 per hour? It costs $7,500 per hour to operate a G5. So that tells you what kind of money that they're making and what it costs them to operate an airplane such as that. They make you throw collection for the pastor's birthday, pastor's anniversary. All these different gimmicks that they create just to make merchandise of you. Go ahead.
Whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not.
Right. Their damnation ain't going to slumber, because the Lord going to be right on time with it. So now, let's go to Matthew 24, because Jesus warned us of these people. He warned us to be aware of them. Be aware of these false prophets with their devil doctrine. So let's go to Matthew 24, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Even though Jesus is talking about the end time here, what we're looking at is the warning that he is giving us. That's what we try to pull from here. Go ahead.
And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, There shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as
Go ahead.
and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
And what's the warning he gave them? That is even echoing today. Go ahead.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you.
Let no man deceive you. And whose name they gonna come in? Go ahead.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
Right. They're gonna appear as Christ and deceive many. They're gonna come in wolf clothing, pretend they're gonna come as wolf in sheep clothing to try to trick you. So now, let's go to the old book. Let's go to the prophecy. Let's go to Jeremiah 23, and we're going to look at what would cause Judah to break the covenant. Could it be the same one that caused the fall of Adam and Eve? Let's examine that for a minute. Jeremiah 23, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. We're going to look at these false prophets, because even in the book of Jeremiah, he's warning us about these false prophets. Go ahead.
Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord.
Right. So he's saying, woe be unto them, those false prophets, because he has left us sound doctrine for us to follow. Go ahead.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord God of Israel against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have
All right.
not.
So how are his flock scattered? By these false doctrine. Go ahead.
And have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, say the Lord. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them.
Yeah, that's good. Drop down to verse 7.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, The Lord
Right.
liveth, which broughteth up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
Right. So here's it, the Lord. Who is saying now? Who is saying today that the Lord has brought us from out of Egypt? You have people running into Egyptianology. They want to be a part of this. But the Lord is letting you know that, hey, I brought you out. If Egypt had something worthy to give you some knowledge, I would have let you stay in Egypt. But when I took you out of Egypt, I brought you in the wilderness to detox you from all these idols. Go ahead.
But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
Right, but you have the false prophet tell you that, hey, when you die, you're going to go to heaven. Right? He don't tell you that Jesus is going to gather us or he's going to take us back to the land. He tells us that when you die, you're going to go to heaven and the Lord is going to rapture us off the earth. But the Lord is saying that he's going to gather us. But the false prophet tell you, no, it ain't so. Let's drop to verse 14 and go ahead.
I have seen also.
Oh, you finished that?
That was 8. Yep. Finished
Okay.
8.
All right, go ahead. Verse 14.
I have seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem an horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies. They strengthen also the hands of the evildoers, that none doth return from his wickedness.
Right, because they do not correct the evildoers. Look at what's going on in the city of Baltimore today. if these pastors were teaching the people the right way, teaching them the law, teaching them how to fear God, we would not have all these killing and have all these confusion how to deal with the crime. But they are not teaching the people the fear of the Lord. Go ahead.
They are all of them unto me as Sodom, and the inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah.
Right. So anywhere you see unrighteousness, lawlessness, you're going to have sodomites. They go hand in hand. And anywhere you see the false prophet, you're going to see the sodomites too. Go ahead.
That was 14.
14. Drop down to verse 16.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart, and not out of the mouth of the Lord.
Right. So they read one scripture and talk to you for a whole hour, telling you the fight they have with Satan and the dream that they have, but they're not telling you what thus say the Lord. So, the Lord is saying, you're supposed to be teaching my people my word, but they are not. Go ahead, finish that up.
17. They say still unto them that despise me, the Lord hath said, ye shall have peace. And they say unto every one that walketh after the imagination of his own heart, no evil shall come upon you.
Right. When do they tell you that you're supposed to have peace? Every Christmas. Peace be unto you. Peace and goodwill to all men. And while the crime is rampant, so that's straight up deception. Verse 21, go ahead.
I have not sent these prophets.
No, he has not sent them, because if they had stand in his counsel, they would know what day he died on, and what day he raised on, and what the Sabbath day means. If you are sitting in a church and they can't tell you what the Sabbath day means, then it's time for you to walk out. Because the Sabbath day means something. That's why the Lord set it apart. Or if you in the Sunday church, they got to be able to tell you what Sunday means, what Sunday represents to the Lord. If they can't break it down, it's time for you to leave that church, because you're going to get caught up in this great tribulation. Go ahead.
Yet they ran.
Ran, but he didn't send them. Go ahead.
I have not spoken to them.
No, he's not. Go ahead.
Yet they prophesy. But if they had stood in my counsel and had caused my people to hear my words, then they should have turned them from their evil way and from the evil of their doings.
Right. If they had spoken the Lord's word, it would change the mind of the people, because they would learn to fear the Lord. But there is no fear. They treat the Lord like he's some kind of powder puff, and treat the Bible like some good old bedtime story. Ain't nothing true. That verse 22?
That was 22.
Okay, so if they had standing in his counsel, the people would have changed. So now let's go look at some blind watchmen. Go back to Isaiah 56, and we're going to pick this up at verse 9. Isaiah 56. So you see, when you got false prophet, you got chaos. There is no order of things. Isaiah 56, and we're going to pick this up at verse 9. Go ahead.
All ye beasts of the field, come to devour. Yeah, all ye beasts in the forest.
So these are people the Lord is talking about. These are stranger other than Israel, because he's going to bring the stranger against Israel. Go ahead.
His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs.
Why?
They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber.
Right. There is no truth in them. Their preaching is vain, and they make the people vain. Go ahead.
Yeah, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand.
Right, they can never have enough, because guess what? Palm Sunday, they pass the collection plate like 5 times. 4 times on the regular Sunday. So they can never get enough. Go ahead.
They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain from his quarter.
Right, everyone to his gain. That's all they are interested in is their own gain. But they are not interested in what the Lord commissioned them to do. Because what? They have the fallen angel doctrine. The devil philosophy that they are pushing forward. Go ahead and finish that out.
Come ye, say they. I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink. And tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant.
Right. So they go from churches to churches and rob the people. And they don't know that they're being robbed. They know that they're paying their tithes because the book tells them to pay the tithes. So now, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 12. Back to 1 Kings chapter 12. 1 Kings chapter 12. And we're going to pick this up at verse 25. 1 Kings chapter 12, and we're going to pick this up at verse 25. Verse 25. Okay. So, we're going to look at another example of Satan's blind watchman with the spirit of Aaron, who built the golden calf for Israel to worship. Go ahead, verse 25.
Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Jeroboam, king of Judah.
Right, so Jeroboam did not want to lose the people. So what?
And they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah.
Yeah. All right, that's good. We're going to show you the video at this time. So we're going to look at these. We're going to look at these devil worshiping that these false prophets cause the people to worship. All right. So you see the bull. Does that remind you of when Aaron made that calf? And the children of Israel was worshiping that calf? See that ring in the calf nose? So, even though it's a bull, it has the same representation. And look at the people going to be paying homage to this bull. Look how they are giving reverence. They are bowing down to this bull. They are practicing the worship of Baal. Look at the eyes of the bull. Even Jeroboam he ended up making 2 of these bulls for the people to worship. So it is still going on today. And that's what we are fighting, is these devil doctrine. That's why we are here every Sabbath trying to teach you, trying to heal your mind, because your mind been influenced for so many years with this type of doctrine. I grew up in it, you grew up in it. So now once we find the true word of God, it is upon us now to follow this word so we can make it into the first resurrection. Even as a child, you saw that smoke coming out of the bull nose. They used to tell me about the rolling calf. They used to teach us to fear the rolling calf. Don't go out at night because this rolling calf is going to get you. So those are the things that they were used to teach us growing up. Even the revival movement, that's the type of stuff they would do. So go ahead, pick this up at...
We're at 28.
28. Mm-hmm.
Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold, thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Right, you see how even the king is pushing this devil doctrine to influence the people. Because the Lord said what? If you teach the people my word, then they would have corrected themselves. But is he teaching them the Lord's word, or he's trying to push them more on the side of Satan? Go ahead.
And he set the one in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
Right, so they went to worship those calves. The same spirit that Aaron had when he made them, Israel, to be naked. That was even the first false prophet, because he was teaching the people wrong. Go ahead.
And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi.
Right, they were not of the sons of Levite. And look, he's going to institute his own day of an atonement. Let's see what day he's going to use, what month he's going to use, and what day he's going to use for his atonement. Go ahead.
And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah. And he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrifices unto the calves that he had made, and he placed in Bethel the priest of the high places which he had made.
Right, so he started his feast in the 8th month of the 15th day. Now, we do trumpets 7th month, 1st day, atonement, 7th month, 10th day. Then the following week we do tabernacle. Then the following week we do 8th day. So we're still in the 7th month, but he chose the 8th month, further deceiving the people. Go ahead.
33. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel. And he offered upon the altar and burnt incense.
Okay, so now let's see if Israel under a different king will change their behavior. Or they would go deeper and deeper in falsehood. Let's go to 2 Kings 17. Let's see if under King Hoshea, Israel is going to make a change. Are they going to continue going down that path of destruction. 2 Kings 17, and we're going to pick this up at verse 7. 2 Kings 17.
You want the first Kings 14?
Oh, sorry, yes. I'm jumping way ahead. Sorry about that. 1 Kings 14. 1 Kings 14. And we're going to pick it up at verse 9. Sorry about that. I'm jumping too fast. Let me set my marker. Yes, so let's go to 1 Kings 14. Look at Jeroboam seeking the healing of his son, because his false prophet has no power. Okay, 1 Kings 14, verse 1. Go ahead.
At that time, Abijah, the son of Jeroboam, fell sick. And Jeroboam said to his wife, Arise, I pray thee, and disguise thyself, that thou be not known to be the wife of Jeroboam, and get thee to Shiloh. Behold, there is Ahijah, the prophet, which told me that I should be king over this people.
Right, so his wife is going to disguise herself so Ahijah would not recognize her. But Ahijah is the servant of God. And Jeroboam, none of Jeroboam's false prophet cannot heal his son. So if there was power in false prophet, they would have been able to heal his son. But as we can see, all this touching and kicking that they claim that they're healing you is nothing but falsehood. And look at the hands of God, how he's going to reveal to his prophet who he's dealing with. Because at this time, Ahijah can't really see. Go ahead.
And take with thee 10 loaves and cracknels and a cruse of honey, and go to him. He shall tell thee what shall become of the child.
Right. Go ahead.
And Jeroboam's wife did so, and arose and went to Shiloh, and came to the house of Ahijah, but Ahijah could not see, for his eyes were set by reason of his age.
Right. So this child was sick to death. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Ahijah, Behold, the wife of Jeroboam cometh to ask a thing of thee for her son.
Right. So Ahijah will only hear her footsteps and recognize who she is. That's the servants of God. He don't even have to see her. Just hear her footstep and he can tell exactly who she is. Go ahead.
For he is sick. Thus and thus shalt thou say unto her, for it shall be, when she cometh in, that she shall feign herself to be another woman. And it was so. And Ahijah heard the sound of her feet as she came in at the door, and he said, Come in, thou wife of Jeroboam. Why feignest thou thyself to be another?
Right. You can't trick me. Why are you trying to fool me? I might be blind, but I'm not deaf. And Ahijah walked by faith, not by sight. He don't need his eyes, because the Lord is his eyes, and his knowledge is his wisdom. Go ahead.
For I am sent to thee with heavy tidings. Go, tell Jeroboam, thus said the Lord God of Israel, for as much as I exalted thee from among the people, and made thee prince over my people Israel, and rent the kingdom away from the house of David, and gave it thee, and yet thou hast not been as my servant David, whom kept my commandments, and whom followed me with all his heart, to do that only which was right in mine eyes.
Right. See, you got to follow the Lord with all your heart. You can't follow the Lord with some of your heart. And that's what these false prophets do. They follow the Lord with a part of their heart, not all their heart. Go ahead.
But hast done evil above all that were before thee. For thou hast gone and made thee other gods and molten images to provoke me to anger, and hast cast me behind thy back.
Right. So now you want a favor from me, Jeroboam, after you done provoke provoke me to anger by casting the Lord behind your back? Drop down to verse 11 and go ahead.
Him that dieth of Jeroboam in the city shall be dogs eat.
That's right. The dogs is going to eat them. Except for his son that's sick, the Lord is going to allow him to be buried. Go ahead.
And him that dieth in the fields shall the fowls of the air eat. For the Lord hath spoken it.
That's right. Drop down to verse 15. Go ahead.
For the Lord shall smite Israel, as a reed is shaken in the water, and he shall root up Israel out of his good land, which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they have made their groves, provoking the Lord to anger.
Right, so this is what the Lord is talking about. He's going to make the wild beasts come in at Israel. He's going to bring the Assyrians against Israel. Go ahead.
And he shall give Israel up because of the sins of Jeroboam, whom did sin, and who made Israel to sin.
Right. So, these false prophets and false teacher cause Israel to fall. Drop down to verse 21 and go ahead.
And Jeroboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. And Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. And Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which the Lord did choose out of all the tribes of Israel, to put his name there.
Right, so wherever the Lord chooses to put his name, that's where you're supposed to come and worship. That's where you're supposed to come and have a holy convocation. You can't have it at your house because there is no elders there. We don't, take tithes there. Nobody can reach out to you and pour oil upon your head and pray over you. So you got to come where you can get your healing. Go ahead.
And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitess. And Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they provoked him to jealousy.
So even Judah did evil. These are Hebrew-speaking people. So I guess it doesn't matter what language do you speak. If you ain't keeping the laws and statutes of the Lord, then what good is it? Go ahead.
With their sins which they had committed, above all that their fathers had done.
So they even done worse than their fathers. Woo, good Lord. Go ahead.
For they also built them high places, and images, and groves on every high hill and under every green tree. And there were also Sodomites in the land.
Right, so anywhere you see unrighteousness, anywhere you see false prophet, there's the presence of Sodomite. Because how are you going to chase them away? What law are you keeping? You can't tell them anything. You said, come as you are. Go ahead.
And they did according to all the abominations of the nations which the Lord cast out before the children of Israel.
Right, they did that and plus some. Last verse, 25.
25. And it came to pass in the 5th year of King Rehoboam.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 24, that's good. Okay, so now let's go to 2 Kings 17. So we're going to see that's his honor, King Rehoboam. So now let's see if Israel is going to do any better under King Ashiah. King Oshiah. Yeah, we're going to see if Israel is going to do any better. If they're going to come from underneath that false teaching with a different king, are they going to continue on the same road? So now let's pick this up at verse 7. Go ahead.
For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God, and they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
That's what these false prophets does. Cause the people to error. There is no one to correct them, because everyone is living in falsehood. Go ahead.
And they set them up images and groves in every high hill, and every green tree, and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them.
Right. So they are straight up breaking the Lord's commandment without any breaks. Go ahead.
And wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing.
Right. So the Lord warned them that they ain't supposed to worship idols. Just like how we are out here warning the people, sending out flyers, said, that's the wrong way. This is the right way. Keep the Lord's Sabbath day. Walk into his laws and statutes. We put flyers out. We are warning the people. We are on YouTube, all over the globe, trying to warn these people, to bring them back under the hands of the Lord. Go ahead.
Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways.
Right, turn from your evil ways. Go ahead.
And keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets.
Right, and he's still saying the same thing today. He's still sending his servants all over to show the people to keep his commandment, to quell some of these violence. But these false prophets keep teaching the people not to fear the Lord. Go ahead.
Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but
No,
hardened their
they would not
necks.
hear, but stiffen their necks. Go ahead.
Like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God.
So they do the same evil that their father did. And this is Israel. They did not believe in the Lord their God that speak Hebrew. Go ahead.
And they rejected his statutes
Uh-huh.
and his covenant that he had made with their fathers, and his testimonies which testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them.
So Israel just went crazy with provoking the Lord, serving other gods, with this false doctrine. Go ahead.
And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even to calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal.
Right, so Israel did the same thing underneath a new king. They just went deeper and deeper in idolatry. Go ahead.
And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger.
Go ahead.
Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
Right, so let's see if Judah is going to do any different. We'll look at that later on. Go verse 25. Drop down to verse 25 and go ahead.
And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them.
Right, so these are the people, when the Lord removed Israel out of Samaria, he replaced them with strangers. And these strangers who did not understand the God of the God of the land, they start worshiping idols. So the Lord sending lions to kill them. Gotten their attention. Go ahead.
Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, The nations which thou hast removed, and placed in the cities of Samaria, know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land.
Right, they don't know the God of Israel. So the woman at the well, she came out of this same group of people that Jesus met at the well. And he told her, you know, worship God. So, go ahead.
Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, Carry thither one of the priests whom ye have brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord.
Right, he's going to show them how to fear the Lord, and let's see if even them is going to keep the Lord laws and statute and covenant as the priest taught them the right way. Are they more strongly believe in their God? Go ahead.
Howbeit every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt.
Right. Go ahead.
And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima.
Right, so they trust more in their God than the God of Israel. Go ahead.
And the Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Sepharvites
The Sepharvites,
burnt their children in the fire of Adramelech and Anamelech and the gods of Severim. So they feared the Lord, and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places.
So they didn't change their behavior. They continue on. Go ahead.
They feared the Lord and served their own gods,
They feared the Lord and served their own God.
after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. Unto this day they do after the former manners. They fear not the Lord.
Right. Even today, they fear not the Lord. Do they fear the Lord? Nope. Tomorrow you'll see those church packed with people. Go ahead.
Neither do they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandments which the Lord commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel.
Right. So even the people whose name after the Lord still didn't do the things that the Lord told them to do. So now let's go into the new book. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. And we're going to look at the heart of these false prophets in these churches. We're going to look at them and see that they're going to have the same behavior that we read about in Kings, 1 Kings and 2 Kings. Now let's look at their behavior, and you'll see that ain't nothing changed. Romans 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 18. Romans 1 and 18. Romans 1 and 18. Go ahead.
For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, whom hold the truth in unrighteousness.
Right. The Lord showed them who is righteousness and showed them who he is, but they hold the truth in unrighteousness. Why? Go ahead.
Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, For God hath showed it unto them.
Go ahead.
For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
Right. The Lord even revealed the Godhead to these preachers. But they still hold his word in unrighteousness. So what the Lord is going to do with them? Go ahead.
Because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God.
No, they don't glorify him as God. Who they give the glory to? Go ahead.
Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened.
Right. So their foolish heart was darkened because they think they were smarter than the God that created them. They want to look for deeper spirituality. They want to look into all these lost books. And they get lost right along with them. Go ahead.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things.
That's right. Go ahead.
Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness.
Right. What's the uncleanness? Go ahead.
Through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves.
To dishonor their own bodies between themselves. So it's no wonder we have a lot of Sodomite supporters and even churches. Go ahead.
Who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen.
Right. So you see that they worship calf, they worship just about anything that was created by God instead of worship the true and living God. Go ahead.
For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections.
Vile affection. What else?
For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men.
Like also the men. Go ahead.
Leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their own lust one towards another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meet.
Right. Don't they pass the law that it's okay for man to marry man, and woman to marry woman? It is okay. Verse 28.
And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge,
Right. What did the Lord going to give them? Go ahead.
God gave them over to a reprobate mind,
Right. So they cannot return. Go ahead.
to do those things which are not convenient,
That's right. Drop down to verse 31.
without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful. Whom knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in doing them,
Right. So
in
the
them that do them. Excuse me.
Right. So the false prophet do not teach against these things. They do not teach against these things. So that's why you see the behavior of people has not changed. Because they don't preach against it, they support it. So now let's go to Ezekiel 22, and let's see the indictment against Jerusalem. So as you can see, there was even false prophet among Israel. So let's go see the indictment against Jerusalem's false prophet. Because, let's go verse 22, and we're going to pick this up at 26. Go ahead.
Her priests have violated my law.
Who's violated his law?
The priest.
The priests. Go ahead. Why?
And have profaned mine holy things, holy and profane. Neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I have profaned among them.
Right. So You don't see them regarding the Lord high day. You don't see them keeping even a Sabbath day. What they tell you, the Sabbath is every day. Some of them say the Sabbath is on Sunday. So they don't show no difference between the clean and the unclean, and the profane and the unprofane. Go ahead.
Her princes in the midst thereof are like wolves, ravening the prey, to shed blood and to destroy souls, to get dishonest gain.
Right, so they are like ravenous animals that show no mercy to the Lord's people. Why? Because they cause the Lord people to error. They don't even show them that the way of righteousness. They're going to cause the Lord people to go to the lake of fire. No mercy. No love. Go ahead.
And her prophets have daubed them with untempered mortar.
Right. So they try to throw stuff against the wall to see if it will stick. But it will not stick because it's untempered mortar. That word is nothing but lies. Go ahead.
Seeing vanity and divining lies unto them, saying, Thus said the Lord of God, when the Lord have not spoken.
Right. They lying on the Lord all the time. So now, what we're going to do, this is what could happen to you or me anytime we allow ourselves to listen to these devil philosophy. We're going to go to Matthew 24, and we're going to pick this up at verse 40. This is what can happen to you if you allow yourself to listen to these devil philosophy. A cloud with no water. So let's pick this up at verse 40. We're going to look at what can happen to us. Go ahead.
Then shall two be in the field.
Right?
The one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken, and the other left.
Right. So what they call this? The rapture, right? Oh, they raptured off. But we're going to show you where they raptured to. See, you don't want this to happen to you. You don't want to get caught up with this rapture stuff. Because what that is devil philosophy. So now, you finish verse 41?
Yeah, that was 41.
That was 41, right? So now, Luke said the same thing. Let's go to Luke. Luke 17. Luke is looking at the same thing. See, we're going to see where they're going to rapture to. They talk about the rapture. Oh, you're going to be raptured off. The church is going to be raptured off. Let's see where they're going to rapture off to. I want to take my time because I want you to find it. I want you to read it with me. Okay, verse 34. Luke 17 and verse 34. You there? All right. Look. Go ahead.
I tell you, in that night there shall be two men in one bed.
Two men, all right. Two men in one bed.